In this video tutorial, you will learn how to model a jacket from a cube. You would learn how to use cylinders to assist in making things like collars as well as sleeves. You will learn how to form and smooth wrinkles using Sculpt tools. You will also learn how to use nodes to make the jacket appear to have dirt and wear on it. In this tutorial, I try to explain not only what I'm doing, but why I'm doing what I'm doing. So thanks for taking a look at this tutorial, and I hope that you enjoy it. Hi, this is Ali Arango, and today I'm going to show you how to make a jacket in Blender 3.6. So let's get started. Okay, what you see on the screen in front of you is the work of other tutorials that I put up. I'll put links in the description so you can get to those tutorials. A couple of people had asked me before if I was working with a tablet or a mouse. I'm actually working with a mouse. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hold Shift, press C. That puts our 3D cursor right in the center of the scene. Okay, what we're going to do now is select the body of our mesh. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. I'm going to hold Shift as well as the middle mouse button to pan slightly. We're going to go to the upper left, go to Sculpt mode. There's a mask that's on here already. I'm going to hold Alt, press M to get rid of that. We're going to draw another mask. Before we do that, I'm going to go to the front view. This setup right here is from, if you go to Edit User Preferences, the top option for add-ons is let you have this 3D view. This is what I use typically to get around in Blender. To draw a mesh, which is going to be the basis for our jacket, we're going to hold Control as well as hold Shift. So now we're going to draw basically like a neckline to here. We're going to come down to about the waist, go over to about the wrist. The reason why I'm drawing half of this is if you look to the upper, still holding down Control Shift and the left mouse button. If you look to the upper right, you'll see the X button, right? So that makes us a mirror thing. So I'm going to let go. That's what I was talking about right there. So now we have this mask across the upper body. Hold the middle mouse button, look towards the back. I like how that mask turned out. Okay, the reason why I put this mask on here is we can basically take this mask, turn this into its own 3D object. What we're about to do is we're going to do that. We also want to lower down this geometry count because typically, in Sculpt, you have a high geometry count. When you work with clothes, it definitely is much easier, I find, to work with them. As far as the way we're doing this jacket, much easier to work with them with lower polygons, all right? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to up to the top or middle of the screen. We're going to select Mask. We're going to go down to Mask Extract. We have these options here. We want to take off this Extract to Solid. This basically makes you have a Solidify modifier on your jacket already. We can put that on ourselves later on. I find it's better to take this away and set this up if we want by ourselves later on. So we're going to select OK. This is its own separate object now. Okay, with this being its own separate object, if we're going to click off, make sure we're clicked on just that, right? If I go to Edit mode, you can see how dense this is. We don't want that. Used to be a pain. You would have to retopologize this to get this to a lower polygon or lower polygon count. Now we can go to the, there's multiple ways of getting this. This is how I tend to get to it. I go to towards the right, lower right, go to, looks like a green symbol, data, scroll down to remesh, go to quad. We select quadriflow remesh. The quadriflow remesh, the number of faces is typically 4,000. I find that 500 faces tends to work well for what we're about to do. So I'm going to put in 500. Click OK. We still didn't remesh. We need to click this OK. Now this is remeshed to 500. Typically when I do that, we want to check. So we can check by going to Edit mode, and we can see this is a much lower polygon count than it was previously. Okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to hold Control, press R to put a loop cut here. I'm going to hold Control, press R to put a loop cut here. We're doing this to get the opening to the jacket. So I'm going to hold Alt, I have face select on, select here, select that whole edge. I'm going to hold Shift, select here. Now I'm going to press X to bring up our delete menu and then choose faces to delete. Okay, with what's going to be our jacket, this is too close to our. When I say this, I'm talking about this mesh where you can see the wireframe of it. It's too close to our body mesh. So what we can do is go to sculpt mode. Here in sculpt mode, slightly difficult to see as it's in the body. We're going to go to inflate. We're going to press F to increase the size of our brush, and we're going to basically inflate to get the jacket to come out of the body. By the way, in this okay, so yeah, you see, make sure you have this X selected. I'm left clicking and not clicking and dragging. I find that left clicking gives you better control than clicking and dragging. I'm going to go back to object mode, select shade smooth, right? When we go to edit mode, this here we can do, like for the geometry, like we want it low, but suppose we want it higher. We can pretty easily go, I go to scope mode just because I'm used to mainly doing it there. You can do quad remesh in multiple modes. We'll go back to quad remesh. We'll change this to 800 instead of 500. Select OK. Still have low poly, however, somewhat better, geometry for the arms there. We'll go back to scope mode. Same thing, inflate. You can press F. If you want to have, like when you're clicking and you're not getting a strong effect, you can left click and drag. Most of the time I click instead of left clicking and dragging because I get too much of an effect. But if you're like struggling. So yeah, this here, trying to bring this out away from the body. We lost our smooth shading, so we'll go back to object mode. We'll right click, select shade smooth. I'm going to hold shift as well as the middle mouse button to pan. We're going to go to back to scope mode. Here we'll hold shift, which is smooth, automatically smooths. Bring this up again. One of the things with working clothes, particularly jackets, clothes can be very difficult. There's multiple ways of working with clothes. What I want to do is I want to make this this part right here. See, it's kind of like, I'm trying to think of the best way. We want to have this be very clean right here in the end. So what we can do, this is a very useful tool. Go to line project, right? We'll click here. See how when I drag that line, basically what this line project does, it doesn't cut. It actually flattens the geometry, which is very useful. That shaded area you see there coming out, going down diagonal. If we want to change that, we can press F. It'll switch the other direction. Wherever that shaded area is at, that's what quote unquote and just saying cut is going to happen, right? So we do that there. That looks good. I find that helps well with the jacket we're about to do here. I actually want to cut this as well. This right here, what we want to do, since we want to actually press B for box select here, right? Hold control, press I to protect everything else. Before we do that, we're going to go to line project here. If you're having issues with like when you cut here, this cutting here, I'm being careful when I say cut, removing the geometry, you can put a mask and that should help you get by it. I'm going to hold Alt, press M to get away from that mask now. Let's go to inflate there. Okay, we're going to go to our right. We're going to go to the modifier tab. We're going to put on a subdivision surface modifier on. Take it up to 2. One of the useful things in modifiers, if you're totally new to Blender, is these things you can turn them on, turn them off. Very useful. So let's inflate this more here. Spent a lot of time working with clothes. I'm not going to say that all that time has made me particularly very good at clothes. However, I have learned things. There's multiple ways of doing clothes. There's what we're doing here, which is basically using Sculpt to get the cloth to look, basically how we want it to look. There's a cloth simulation, all kinds of other stuff, right? This thing I'm going to show you here, I found particularly useful. Basically what it is using cylinders when you're working with clothes for things like collars, like what I'll call a sleeve collar, waist collar there. The cylinders tend to help out a lot. I was kind of surprised by this. So we're going to do that. This is still too close to the body, so this is one of my favorite tools in sculpting, elastic deform. Elastic deform makes me feel like I am in control. The grab brush is very good as well, but the grab brush, I don't know, it feels like it's harder to control things with that. Okay. Okay, basically what's going on here is we want this to be like a little too short here, to look a little too short here, so we can put our cylinders in. One of the things that I just working on clothes recently, it's like a lot of times doing art, you have to think differently. So basically this is cloth, like whether it's leather or very soft cloth, it's or jeans, it's still cloth. Typically, like the collar areas, things like that, I would think of them, like cloth. And what I've started thinking them as is putting my mind in a 3D mode, I'll call it, and thinking of them as a hard surface area. I find that it tends to look, that's my current thoughts, might change in the future, so I think of like this as being hard surface, even though it isn't. It's supposed to be cloth as well as this, I find, so currently I think it makes things look better. Okay, so we're going to go to object mode. We're coming in object mode because in object mode, we can bring, like we were talking about, cylinders in. So I'm going to hold shift, press A, go to mesh. I'm going to go to cylinder. The cylinder is there. I don't want the cylinder to have a top to it, which is it currently does. So I can click here, go to nothing. That's what I want. So now what I'm going to do is bring the cylinder down. I'm going to scale the cylinder so that it basically fills up this collar area here. Doesn't matter so much that it goes into the body, but I'll press S to scale on the Z axis. Anyway, I'm going to press R to rotate on the X axis slightly like that, right? I'm going to hold shift, press D, duplicate the cylinder, bring it down like that. Okay, with this cylinder, I'm going to press S to scale this down. I can press R twice to get a free rotation. So I'm changing the view to see how I'm rotating. I'm going to press S to scale Z and then Z again. When you press Z again, that lets you scale, I think, how your brain kind of works, if that makes sense. So watch this again. If I press S to scale, then Z, see how that's going up and down? I want it to go along the lines of the geometry, so I press Z again, and now you can see that's what happens. So press Z to scale this down. You want to position this so it looks like it's basically going into the cloth. We only have to do this on one side because we can mirror this to the other side. I'm actually going to go to the cloth, go to object mode, go to inflate, and inflate this cloth. Like that there as well there. Okay, we're going to go to object mode, select here, hold shift, press D, bring this down like that. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button. I'm going to push this forward. I'll go to right view. I'm going to press R to rotate on the X axis. Press S to scale on the Y axis like that. Go towards the front, S to scale on the X axis like that. Push that forward some. S to scale on the X axis. That's the scale on the, oops, the y-axis. And that's pretty close to what I want for the waist. I'm going to press S to scale the z-axis like that. So I'm going to go to sculpt mode. I'm going to, with the info, we have a warning at the bottom because we want to press Control A to select all transforms. If you scale something in object mode, right, and you try to go to scope mode, if you don't apply all transforms to it, things tend to go strangely. So you're better off, if you scale in object mode, which we're in now, you're better off pressing Control A, apply all transforms most of the time. There's almost always exceptions to have this work correctly in scope mode. So I'm going to go to scope mode, and that's interesting. So I'm trying to inflate this, and it's pushing in. I'm going to go to view global / local. Sometimes you'll have issues with things because your normals aren't correct. If you go, where's it at? If you go here, select face orientation, and that's why. So basically what you see right here is this red here is showing us our normals aren't facing the correct direction, right? So how do we fix that? I'm going to go back here. So think of the faces of normals as being like clothes being right. You put a shirt, the shirt's supposed to be, has a way where it's supposed to face outward. If it's facing the wrong way out, people say that shirt's inside out. It's kind of like how normals are, right? So what we can do is we can go to edit mode, select everything, and then what we can do is go to mesh, and then normals, and then select flip. And then now these should be facing the correct direction. We can, is it here? There we go. Turn this off. And now when we go to sculpt, yeah, there we go. See that? Now the normals are coming out. Good. This we don't want to come out here. For this, I'll go to the blob brush. Press F to shrink this down. Inflate here. Good. Okay, I'm going to hold down the mouse button to rotate to take a view look. I'm going to go back to object mode. I'm going to select here. Actually, I want to move this up. So I'm going to press S to scale, then ZZ. It's up too high. Press R to rotate on the X-axis some more. And I click here, go to scope mode, go to my elastic deform brush. Pull that up something like that. Okay, I'm going to go back to object mode. I'm going to select here. And the reason why I'm selecting here is so I can go to edit mode. I want to take out the these faces here so I can make them, this collar looks like it goes along with the jacket. So I'll select here, hold shift, select here. So you know what, I'll select these as well. I'll press X to bring up the delete menu, then choose faces to delete. Okay, I'm going to go back to object mode, select here. Same basic idea. I'll select these two faces, then choose X to delete. I'll go back to object mode. I'll select here, right click, select shade smooth, select here, right click, shade smooth. Hold shift as well as middle mouse button to click to pan. Click here, select right click, shade smooth. Okay, this is a pretty important and nice thing to know when you're working with clothes. We'll click here, right? This I find tends to help with clothes, because one of the things with clothes is, see how that's a flat plane basically, right? So you want to put thickness on here. However, you also want that thickness to be somewhat sharp because it's clothes and they kind of have like a sharpness to them, particularly if you're going for a more stylistic look. So what you want to do is put subdivision on, sorry, not subdivision, subdivide on first, right? Then you can take up your geometry, right? And then you see how this looks. Like it's not sharp, looks soft, right? So then what you do is after first subdivide, after this you go to subdivision surface, right? You see like this looks kind of strange, right? We'll take this up to 3, right? Here's the important thing. Well, that order is important. Solidify, my brain. Solidify first, that S was getting me, and then subdivision. So now you go to edge data, right? Take this up, watch the edge. And basically you'll see like this edge is giving us a hard look to it now, which helps a lot when working with the clothes. You can control just exactly how hard you want this to be. So what we'll do now is we'll click here, hold shift, select here, still holding shift. Now select this last, right? Because this is selected last, notice the color change, like this is the same color as this, yet this is a lighter shade of orange. That's because this is the active object. This is the last selected object. The reason why this is important is I'm going to let go of shift. Because it's the active object, I want to copy the modifiers from this onto here. So this has thickness, these don't, right? So now what I can do is hold control, press L. This brings up our link transfer menu, and then I'll select copy modifiers. So now these have the same modifiers as that. Taking a look. I'm going to left click and deselect the other objects there. Okay, I want to deal with the geometry here. Basically, because we use quad remesh, typically when you do quad remesh, the topology set up by that isn't going to be as good as that set up by a person. So this right here has kind of like whacked out topology. So what we're going to do is delete a loop, try to smooth this out, try to get another loop, and then connect those two. And I'm telling you this before we do it so we can hopefully get through it. I really don't want to spend that much time on it. So we're going to click on here. Let's go through it. We'll go to edit mode. We're going to look for a good loop, which should be here. When you hold Alt and select a loop, you have this loop here, right? So what we're going to do is, because we have this loop, we're going to press X, and we're deleting this. The reason why we're deleting this is because the loop here was quote-unquote good. This is a good loop. It's a full loop. When we look here, we can already see this is kind of like strange looking, right? So what we're going to do is hover here, make sure we're on face select this, go to our smooth tool, and then pull to the side to smooth that out some. Okay, we're working on this side because we can just mirror whatever we do from this side over that side, right? So we can move faster just by focusing on one side. So now we're going to look for the next loop. Now we can see this is kind of like strange, right? So there's kind of a loop, then it goes over to place here. So what we're going to do is we're going to press C, hold the middle mouse button to deselect what's not in that initial loop. I press C again, right? So we have that almost like a loop there. It's bunched up and strange looking, so we're going to press X, choose faces to delete that, right? So now what we're going to do is pay attention to here. So see this says 0 vertices, right? The reason why this says this is because we don't have anything selected. So now when I select this, this is 12, right? So this right here, this is telling us like how many vertices are in this loop, right? And that's important because we want to link this up to that, right? The whole purpose, remember, is get rid of that strangeness was there. We'll hold Alt, select here. Here we have 8 vertices versus 12. So what we can do is hold Control, press R. Now when I go here, there's 10. So now we can we'll go here, hold Control, press R. And because we put those 2 loop cuts in, we should have 12 now, right? So there's 12. We'll hold Shift, select here. Then now what we're going to do is right click, go to Loop Tools. This is an add-on, by the way, that has to be activated under Edit Preferences. You can search for Loop Tools. Very useful. You put a check mark next to it when I say add-on. This is something that is included in the default version of Blender. This isn't something that has to be downloaded separate. It's included with Blender. It just has to be activated. So anyway, oh, wait a second. You still want this add-on. Okay, we'll try to use bridge. Okay, it looks like that actually did work. And I'll left click to deselect. I'm gonna click here. There we go. Just want everything deselected. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go to face select, hold shift, hold alt, select there, select here, go to smooth that out some, and now we don't have that like extreme weirdness that we had there before. Still not the best topology, but I would say better than before. So let's go to edge select, holding shift to try to select around this armpit area. All right, so now what I'm going to do is press O. This turned on this right here. This is called Proportional Editing Tool. Proportional Editing Tool allows you to move more than one edge, vertice or face at a time. I can press G and have this area of influence, right? So what I'm trying to do is move this up more towards the area of like the armpit. I press S to scale that up. I'm going to hold control, press R, put a loop right here. Put a loop here as well. Click there. I'm going to select tool. Okay, I'm going to hold Alt, press A to deselect. And see how this on the other side is, wait a second. Okay, because this was on, it looks like it did it to the other side, right? That's good, didn't expect that. Okay, so since we're in here, what we're going to do is we're going to make a pocket, right? Because we have this fairly low geometry, this makes it fairly easy for us. So before we do that, to make things easier, what we're going to do is we're going to add in a Solidify modifier. Solidify modifier makes things more solid looking. So we'll move this in, put this here, and then we'll increase the thickness. You can go forward or back. We'll go forward this way, right? See how this is soft? We don't want that. So we're going to go to edge, and we're able to make this almost basically be a hard edge, which is what we want. There. Now this makes the cloth look better. However, the reason why we did this now is particularly looking at that, I'm going to click here, go to scope mode. Press F to increase. We'll deal with that later. Okay, so we're going to go back to edit mode. So we'll select this face right here. We'll hold shift, press D. Right click, we duplicated that face. You can kind of see it there. Now we're going to do, we have a duplicate. So there's 4 faces right on top of the original faces, right? We're going to press P. So we're not taking the original faces. We're separating the faces we just made, which are a duplicate, over the other faces. So we're going to press P again, select selection. So now we have this right here, right? And what this is its own separate object. That's what P did. It separated things from the other. We'll select here. We'll press, I'm going to turn this off. That circle is from this proportional editing. We'll press O. We'll press S to scale this up some, like that. Okay, so yeah, like the shape of this is kind of like it's not as squarish as I want it to be, right? So what we can do to deal with that is we can adjust this rim, and you can see there now this is more squarish looking, and that's what I want for the pocket. Let's select here, press G. All right, to have this snap right to the shirt, you can turn on this snapping tool. We have the snapping tool on. You want to click here, go to face project, turn all of these on right here, right? And then basically what they'll do is when you, I pressed L, I could have pressed A in here. I'll press A, press G, you'll snap. Your geometry will snap, which is good. For this next part, you're going to turn this off, right? And the next part is we're going to make a pocket. So we're going to select this here. A pocket on the pocket, I guess you could say. We'll hold shift, we'll press D. We duplicate that. We're going to press P, not B. Selection, and we have pretty much like very similar like we had before. We'll go to object mode. Okay, so now with this being separated to its own thing, what we can do is we can increase the thickness of this out more, like that. Then what we can do is come in here. I selected one vertex here. Push this down like that. And as far as the sharpness of this, like you see here, I can take this rim and go up, and now I have more of like a traditional, I would think, like pocket look. Okay, what we're going to do now is select here, hold shift, press D, right click, make sure we don't have snapping on, which we don't. With this selected, we'll press P, select selection. With this here, we're going into it. This is its own object, even though it's on the old object, right? We're going to press A to select everything, which is just that one face. We'll right click, we'll select subdivide, subdivide again, subdivide one more time. Now we're going to right click, go to loop tools, and then select circle. All right. So now we have this separate button, so to say, right? So what we'll do is press, oops. All right. So this origin point, when I go to move this, the origin point is wherever the original jacket's at. So what we want to do with this selected, we want to go to object, set origin, origin to geometry. So now when we scale this, we scale like right where this is at. We're going to use this for buttons. We'll push this out, scale it down. I'll push R twice so I can rotate that to get it to show. Looks too big. I'll press S to scale. Okay, I want more detail for the pocket, so let me first select this, move this over, something like that. Let's find out how it is for now. We're going to go here, select here. We're going to go to edit mode. We're going to go to face select, select this face, hold shift, press D, right click. We just duplicated that face. We'll press P, choose selection, right? We'll go to object mode. We'll select this new face. We'll go to object, set origin to geometry. Okay, we're going to push this over like this. We're going to press S to scale on the X axis like that. Push this forward some. It's interesting. Or to rotate on the Z-axis. So I rotated on the Z-axis. I want it to be like right underneath the button. It's not as sharp as I want it, so I'll go like that. Looks not quite super sharp, but right there looks pretty good to me. Press S to scale on the X-axis slightly. I want to pull this like that. I can increase the thickness. And when I duplicate these objects, one thing nice is, whoops, is they have the thickness of the object that they were taken from. Okay, I'm going to roll the mouse wheel back. I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to go to edit mode, go to view global/local. I'm going to hold control, press R, put a loop cut there. I will go back to view global/local. I'm going to hold Alt, select here, press X, and then choose faces to delete. Go back to view global/local, then back to object mode. Okay, we need to cut that more later on. We'll do that then. Okay, with this, I was having an issue where when I tried to apply modifiers, Blender would say the modifiers failed. What you can do to get around that is, so currently we have a Solidify and the subdivision surface modifier. So what you can do to get around that is go to Object, Convert, Mesh, and that's what we're doing now to get around that. So this, by doing this, I'm applying the modifiers, and this dodges that, having Blender say that the applying the modifiers failed. Okay, we're going to select the jacket. We're going to temporarily turn off the Solidify, temporarily turn off the subdivision surface. The reason why we're doing that is we want to go to edit mode. Here in edit mode, let's go to edge select. We'll select here, near the top, hold control. We'll select near the bottom, push this over, some like this. So now what I do is press E to extrude, left click or right click, bring this out some. So I'm bringing the extrusion out some, right? So I'm going to press E to extrude, right click, and then I'm going to pull to the side slightly, right? So now I don't want to keep this straight line, so I'm going to select here. I'm going to hold control, which allows me to use what's called the shortest path technique. Select here, let go of control. So when that shortest path technique allowed me to select all of this, so I'll pull this out like this. And I'll select here, hold control here, pull that out more. I'll go to vertex select, pull this out so it's not as sharp as a change. Okay. I'll go back to object mode. We'll turn back on subdivision surface as well as Solidify. Taking a look at this. All right, for this pocket, what we're going to do is we're going to hold Shift, select these different pieces, not including the button. Then we're going to hold Control, press J. So we joined all of these pieces together. This currently, if we want to move this, which I do want to move it, we don't see the Move tool. That's because the origin point of this is not on the geometry. So to fix that, we'll go up to the upper middle of the screen, towards the upper middle of the screen. We'll go to Object, Set Origin, and we'll choose Origin to Geometry. So now when we did that, you can see we can now move that pocket. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to push this pocket down. I'm going to press S. I want to increase the size of the pocket. Push it over slightly. I'm turning so I can see how this is like coming away from the body. I'll go up with this selected in object mode, which is where we're currently at. I'll hold Control, press A. Brings up our apply menus. Menu will choose all transforms. That keeps us from getting that error when we go into sculpt mode. Here in sculpt mode, I'm going to go use the grab brush. You probably notice I don't use this too often. However, it gives you, you know, more bend than the elastic deform brush. And I'm basically bending this to match up. You can see it stretching there to match it to the body of the character because it goes around. I'll pull this down. See how like that quickly, like the pocket like kind of deformed. That's why I tend to like elastic deform a lot, actually. Press F to shrink the size of that. Okay, this piece right here, I want this piece to not go away. We're going to do a remesh to increase the geometry. I don't want to lose this piece right here, and because it's so close to the rest of the body, it will join in. So what we can do is we can go to object mode, select here, go to edit mode. This looks like this because I have topology turned on. So what we can do is we can basically separate this. Let's turn off these modifiers. So I'm going to select here. I'm going to go to phase select here, hold control, select there. All right. So I have that piece selected. I'll hold shift, hold control, select here. Control gives me the shortest path technique. I have all these selected now. And then with them selected, I'll press the P key. This brings up our separate menu. I'll choose selection. Now I'll go back to object mode. Okay, I'm going to turn the modifiers back on for this. And then what I'm going to do, and this is the jacket, that's what I'm talking about. I'm going to go to object, then convert to mesh. So now I have those modifiers applied. I'll go back to scope mode. We can see we're at 22,000 polygons. I want more polygons than that. So I'm going to use remesh. And I'm going to press R to set up the remesh. I'm going to look at the squares, right? I don't particularly use the numbers. I use the square size. I'm going to left click to lock in that small square size. Then I'm going to hold control and then press R to actually have that remesh happen. And we went up to 274,000 polygons, and that's what I wanted. Okay, we separated this because we didn't want this to be joined together when we remeshed here. We have this here as well as this here. So what we want to do is we're going to use the remesh to join this back piece together. So what I'm going to do is go to the mask brush, draw a mask here to protect all of this here, right? Now I'll hold control, press I to invert. I'll go to the elastic deform brush. And basically we're going to remesh this. That's the plan anyway. And when we remesh this, we'll go to inflate. This should join together, so we'll hold control, press R. Good. So now this is joined together. I'm holding shift to smooth that out. We'll hold Alt, then M to get rid of the mask. Okay, now that we have that done, I go to object mode. I think being selected was distracting me. Okay, so we want to put wrinkles in, heavy wrinkles here from the elbows down, right? Basically, the best way that I've seen to do this, I've made clothes numerous times. Typically, I make clothes, think they're good, then don't think they're good, then retry. So one of the things that has remained is XYZ patterns for things like this. This is basically compression wrinkles we're trying to make here. Tend to work well. XYZs should be your main things to think of. You'll see what I mean in a second. Ends, also V's, sometimes S's, but XYZs, right? So we're probably going to start off with a V here. So I'm going to press F to shrink the brush. What I'm saying is you're like, what's he talking about? Letters and all this other stuff. Why is he saying letters and talking about wrinkles? This is why. We're going to go to the mask brush. I like this. Multiple ways to do things in Blender. This is nice because fairly easy to control. So what we want to do is we want to grab like from here, go all the way around here. So there's a big V, right? So that's what I mean, like when you think like letter, right? So now we want to have like a big Z, like right here. We want this to come around here, so I'm going to grab the edge of that, extend this like this, right? Here, there's going to be basically like more like an L here, all right, like that. All right, so we have that. So then here, we want to have like lesser wrinkles here, so we're going to put in like actually S's here. Some line, these should be like light wrinkles here, right? Here, we're going to do X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. These won't be anywhere near as big as the other things. When I say big, I mean deep. You'll see what I mean. X, Y, Z. See how this is like exactly the same? Once we work more in the jacket, we can use the elastic deform or other tools to pull to make these wrinkles non-symmetric. If you're like, why is it so symmetric? Which is good thinking, by the way. If you're thinking that, that's good thinking. It's a process. Go up here. Z, we'll do Y. You're going to add on to it. X there. Okay, so now that we have all this, what we're going to do is hold Control, press I, right? For the super deep bends, you can use elastic deform. Like super deep wrinkles, you can use elastic deform. So we'll grab this out. I want these to be nice and deep. We're going to use smoothing, so you almost want them to be, in a sense, like overly deep, I would say, right? For that. For those ones, even more so. And then for these ones right here, this we'll use the inflate brush. We'll hold Alt then M to get rid of those the mask. Okay, we're going to press F to shrink the size of our brush. I find that typically you want to, when you have wrinkles, typically where you have like the material coming out, this is a floating thing from before, that's fine. You want to go in around the edges of it. So what I mean is if I hold Control with this draw tool, I can go to where I see the raises on the wrinkles. These look strange. The smoothing should take care of that. I find that this tends to make things look better. Like I said, I want these to really be deep. I also find if you go to the crease brush and make the edges look sharper, tends to make things look better. Go back here, same thing. Holding Control. The reason why I'm holding Control is because draw normally comes out, right? I'm using a mouse, by the way. Sometimes people ask if I'm using a drawing tablet or not. I do have a drawing tablet. Had it for a while. Haven't really used it too much. I did try to use it while sculpting, and I was very impressed with the results. It's particularly for drawing wrinkles. I was very pleasantly surprised by that. So I'm outlining here using the mouse to do this. I'm going to go back to crease. I'm going to put in hard edges. Remember, this stuff is going to be smoothed out. That might be too big. The more time you spend, the better the results you'll get. Okay, when we hold shift, we'll automatically shift to that tool, right? right now, this tool is set for 0.7. I find that when you want more control, switching it to 0.2 does very well. So for these wrinkles here are the edges. It's even a lot here. It's typically the edges of it. This tends to work like well. Actually, it's working when it's working like very strongly, and it is. You might say, well, when does it work differently? Depends on your resolution, right? So I'm instead of dragging, I'm left clicking, right? So this is at 0.7. Now when it's on 0.2, for the most part, you can drag. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to let me show you how well, if you don't know it, which most of you probably know, you'll see when I'm holding shift, it automatically goes back to this tool, right? I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to change this to 0.2. So now I don't have to hold shift. I can just drag. Takes a lot longer, but I have a lot more control over this. Just moving this out. All right, so now what I want to do is I'm going to go to Add Modifier, Smooth. When I use the Smooth modifier, I take this factor to 1. Makes me feel like I have a lot of control. I'm going to take this up to 45. And you can see how much this smoothed it out. So I think the wrinkles look a lot better with that smoothing on. The symmetry of this looks very strange. However, my main concern right now is in the front here, which I like, right? So I'm going to go to object mode. I'm going to apply this. Okay, I'm going to select this object here. Trying to see if it has any thickness, which it doesn't. I'll add the Solidify modifier to it. I'll add a subdivision surface modifier to it. I'll take it to up to 2. Edit mode. I'm going to select here, hold control, select there. The reason why I'm doing this is I want this to have more distance from the rest of the body. I pressed C, then I held middle mouse button to deselect. I'm going to go to edge select, top of the edge. I'm going to hold control, gives me shortest path technique. Drag this over more like that. Go out to here. Let's make this thicker. We'll go to edge data, turn this up. Okay, I'll go to edit mode. There we go. Turn these off, but taking them out. I don't want this part to come out this much. So go to face select, I'll select here, hold control, for the shortest path technique, push that in some like that. Go to object mode, turn these back on. Okay, with this selected, I'm going to hold shift, press D to duplicate this. I'm going to press M to bring up move to collection, select new collection, select OK. I did that because in case I mess this up, I can go back to this. All right, so what I want to do with this is I'm going to go to object. I'm going to go to convert to mesh. I am now going to hold shift and then press Control J to join these together. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, whoops, I'm going to go to scope mode. Okay, what I want to do is these pieces are one object now, but they're not joined together. I want them to join. So I'm going to hold Control, then press R. It should be one piece now. So now I want this to be on the other side as well. So to do that, I'm going to go to this, see this XYZ, we're going to click here. This plus X represents this side, minus X represents that side. I want to copy this side to the other side. That's why this is set for plus X to minus X. If you wanted to copy this side to this side, you would go here, you would change this so that this said minus X to plus X rather than what it currently says. With it being what it currently says, you select Symmetrize, and there you go. You can see that. Okay, we want to put some seams in the jacket now. The seams are basically how the jacket would basically be. As far not basically be put together, right? I'm planning to draw these just with the mouse, drawing it in. However, I want you to know about this. I plan to use Draw Sharp. What you can do is with this Draw Sharp, which is what I'm planning to use the seams, draw the seams in, right? If you look to here, these are the setups for advanced tools. Like we can adjust these settings to change how the sculpt brushes function. It's very important here. Actually, I'll make sure I got this right. I'm wrong. Options. That's it. Okay. All right, so see this stroke right here? This stabilized stroke will allow you to draw. If your hand is shaking, stabilized stroke will allow you to draw fairly straight strokes. I've been drawing a lot with the drawing tablet, or a decent amount, so I'm going to draw just with my mouse. However, if you click this, you should be able to draw. Experiment with it. You'll see that this allows you to draw very straight lines with a mouse, all right? So first scene we want. I'm not doing it again because I've been drawing with my tablet a lot. This is faster as well. Oops. So I'm going to hold Control while you use the Draw Sharp. And basically, be careful about zooming in and out with your mouse while you're doing this, because depending on how Blender is set up, the size of your scene will actually change. So there's the first around there. We want to have one going down like this as well. One going down like this as well. One going, we could have two. I'm trying to decide now. I think I'll have two going like this as well. Once you have that, you can go to Draw Brush, hold Control, and go outside of the, go to the, basically the edge of what you did, the seams, and you're basically making it deeper. Like you're going to the outside, and it tends to give things a better look. So it's like you have something pushing out, then you have this depression pushing in. More time you take, the better results you'll get. Okay. Okay, this button that's been here all this time, you're like, why has it got that button staying there? We'll grab the button. We'll actually move this up over to here. Zoom in. If you want to zoom in easily, hold Shift, press B, draw a zoom box. This will probably save you time. Sometimes to rotate things, it's better to take this rotation tool. Tends to make things very quick when there's like slight adjustments you need to make. You actually can use this transform tool as well. It'll let you grab things and rotate very quickly. Pretty useful. Okay, for this button, let's go to Object, Set Origin, Origin to Geometry. We'll hold Control, press A. To bring up our Apply menu, we'll select Apply All Transforms. That's interesting. Press S. What the heck? Origin, Set Origin, Origin to Geometry. So this does not want to do. So if you have an issue like this where this doesn't want to set the origin to here, we can right click, right? Go to Object, Set Origin to 3D Cursor. It's pretty close. That's the scale on the We're going to take this button, and it's not that important. So this will go to Object, Set Origin, Origin to Geometry. This doesn't do it either, huh? Let's see what happens. We'll hold Shift, select this, hold Control, press J, right? We'll go to Sculpt mode. Here in Sculpt mode, we'll hold Control R to remesh. So now that's a part of the jacket. Now we'll go to where the XYZs are at, down to Symmetry, Symmetricize. And now we have pockets on both sides. Okay, what we're going to do in here is we're going to hover here, here being the collar, hold Alt, press Q. That switches us to being able to use this object even though we're inside of Sculpt mode, right? For this object, we'll turn on the symmetry options, right? Go to Elastic Deform, make the back of this collar bigger. In fact, we can drag this out like that. Okay, we're going to go to Object Mode. We're going to click here, go to our modifiers. There's modifiers on here. We're going to go to Object, Convert, Mesh. We're going to click here. There's modifiers. We're going to go to Object, Convert, Mesh. The reason why we're doing this is when I was working through this tutorial and I tried to apply all for all the modifiers, they clicked failed. So then I found out you could apply all modifiers by going to Object, Convert to Mesh. That's why we're doing this. So we're going to click on this collar. We're going to hold Shift, select here, hold Control, press J. We're going to click here, hold Shift, select the jacket, hold Control, press J. Then we're going to go to Sculpt mode, right? This entire time we haven't had this over there. We're going to go to XYZ, click here, select Symmetricize, and there we go. Okay, what we're going to do now is I'm going to hold Control as well as the middle mouse button to zoom in. Okay, we're selected on the jacket. We're going to go to View Global / Local so we can focus just on the jacket. I was talking to my wife. She was like, this looks like it's sticking out too far, so let's deal with that. So we're going to press B for box select. And then what we'll do is go to the upper part of the middle screen, go to Mask, go to Smooth Mask. We'll hold Control, then I to invert the mask. Okay, I'm going to hold Control as well as the middle mouse button to zoom in. Getting this angle so I can see, like what my wife was talking about, see that overhang there? So pull this back like this. Press F to shrink the size of my brush. Pull it somewhat from that angle, hold shift to smooth that out some. Press F to increase the size of the brush. Sometimes you look at something so long, it's very useful to have somebody else look at it and say, like, this is, tell you what it looks like. All right, so I'm going to hold Alt, press M. I'm going to select View Global / Local to come out of local mode. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to go to our Draw Sharp Brush. We're going to go to, looks like, Tools. So we'll select Tools. We'll come down to stroke. Whenever you change something that you're used to default, like this is stroke method space. So this is the default stroke method, right? Put that in your mind. This is the default stroke space. So you can remember when you change it, we're about to change this to line. Reason why we're doing that is we want to put in some details that are pretty easy to put in. I'm going to press F to shrink the size of my brush. And just like this, we can put in quick details. So the line brush lets you draw lines, and we're using draw sharp for our stroke, so pretty decent, fairly simple. Hold shift over here so we can see that. Okay, what we're going to do now is go to object mode. We'll click here. When we click on our modifiers, we see we have modifiers on here. Let's go to object. We'll go to convert to mesh. Okay, what we're going to do is go to sculpt mode, go to these two circles, click here, go down to wireframe. We have 7,000 polygons. That's not that much. We're going to press R to increase the resolution of our remesh. I'm looking at the squares, not the number. I'm going to hold Control, press R to go up to 62,000. I like that. So I'm going to go to the two circles, turn off wireframe. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make sure I turn on this X for symmetry. The draw sharp has the line stroke. Be aware that if you go to draw, this has the default space method. I think it's important for you to know that. We're going to go to View Global / Local to make this easier to draw these lines in. That's what the plan is. So we're going to go just like this. Pay attention once you start getting close to the center line. There we go. We're gonna, okay, so we didn't get symmetry here. However, even though we had symmetry turned on, however, we can go to here and select Symmetricize, and we have that on the other side. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate. We're currently in the object of that. I'm going to hold Alt, press Q to go here. I'm going to hold Shift to go down. I'm going to hold Control, now Shift to draw a mask for here. I'm going to do a mask, smooth mask. I'm going to hold Control, press I to invert that mask. Now I'm going to go to Elastic Deform, press F to increase the size of my brush. Drag this up. If this is slightly over the edge, you can pull in. To fix that, I'm going to hold Alt, press M to come out of that mask. I'm going to come back, take a look at this. Okay, I'm going to go to the Draw Sharp. I'm going to change this stroke method back to its default method of space. I'm going to go to Flatten, which is a super strong version of the Smooth. I'm going to go to Advanced. I'm going to go to Front Faces Only, so the flatten effect isn't too strong. Okay, I'm going to go back towards the front. I'm going to hover here, press F. I'm going to hold Alt, press Q to go back into this mode here. Hold Control. Go to Elastic Deform. I'm going to press F. Drag that forward slightly like that. Zoom my mouse back to take a look. Okay, we have a basic jacket look. Let's go to object mode. We'll go to these tabs up here. These tabs help you. You can get to these tabs without getting to what the tab. You can get to what the tabs show without clicking here. For instance, I could get to what's going to be shown in the shading tab by setting things up in this current view. However, this is easier, so we'll select shading. This is textures that were on here from before. We'll click here. When we click here, we can see that this is what's on the jacket now. I'm going to go to Material. I'm going to select Use Nodes. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this base color, make this a brownish color. Actually, I'm going to go here. I'll make a new material. Make this like a brownish color. I'll click this material here. I deleted that top material. I can go here and make this darker. Okay, so we have like this nice brownish material here. Okay, the jacket looks very smooth. We can deal with that by going to Add, Texture, Voronoi. We'll go to Add, Vector, Bump. And then what you want to do is when you look at the nodes, you can see they're color coded. So from the Voronoi texture, you want to go from the distance to the height. Move these down. You want to run this normal into the normal of the principled shader. You have this, what you see there. Okay, you don't want this, so what you want to do is look to the scale of your Voronoi texture. Go between 250 to 350. Let's go to around 250. So now you have this, which is too much. So now you look to your bump, look to the strength, change this to 0.1. And now you have this roughness to your leather. Okay, when you look at the jacket, it looks like the same color everywhere. So you want to bring in some wear and tear, some dirt. So to do that, what you can do is bring in some nodes. You're going to add texture, bring in a Musgrave texture. Don't want those connected. They did that automatically. There we go. All right, so add. We need a mix shader. We need a color ramp. Okay. Okay, so what you're going to want to do now is take the Musgrave, have the height go into the factor. Actually, we want to put it going into the color ramp. That's going to go into the factor and then into the color. Wait, sorry. Musgrave goes into the factor. That goes into the mix shader. We're going to zoom back. We're going to unclick, take this principled shader, put this into the top shader, top slot for the mix shader. Now what we're going to do is press Shift A. We're going to bring in another principled shader. We're going to make this color be very dark. Then we're going to have this go into the bottom shader and then have this shader go into the surface shader. Okay, with all that stuff set up, what we're going to do now is hold Control, hold Shift, and then left click on the color ramp. That's what we want. And then by controlling the size of the Musgrave, you can control this here. So basically what this is doing is think of the black portions of being like the dirt and the roughness that we were talking about before. So now I can hold Control, hold Shift, and then left click here. And now you can see the those like dark pieces there, right? So what you want to do here is you want to turn down your specular down to nothing, and you want to turn your roughness pretty much all the way up so that it's not shiny. So you have a difference, like we were talking about the wear, right? So then here, what you can do is click on the white, and you can bring this down. So what I did was I clicked on the white. There's two, they call them houses. At least that's how I remember them being referred to in this color ramp. So when I click on the white color ramp and bring this down, this basically makes the color fade into the jacket. So you can control, so you click the house, right? Then you click the white here, which represents the color of the house. You bring this down, and then this controls how much of that, how much you'll see as far as like the dirt and the wear. Okay, what you might like is sometimes you get a nice effect we have the black house here, the more whitish house here. If you switch these, I actually like the result for this better. Okay, as far as looking at your jacket, if you click here, if you turn down the strength of the world, you can get kind of like a different view of the jacket. Okay, I'm going to go back to the layout view. Taking a look at the jacket, we'll zoom in on it. So there it is without the textures. Here it is with the textures. Okay, I'm going to click here. I'm going to take down the strength somewhat, so we can take a look at it. Okay, almost forgot about here. So what we'll do is we'll click here, go to shading, we'll select new. For this material, we'll click here, we'll select this material. I want to make this darker. This is the same material as here. However, if we change this to make this darker, this will get darker as well. To not have that happen, we can go to this number and click the number to have the number go away. Now with that number there, or not there, we can go to base color and then make this darker like that. I'm going to hold Shift as well as the middle mouse button to pan. I want this color to be the same as this. What I'll do is I'll click here. I'll go to edit mode. I have face select currently selected. I'll hover here, press L, hover here, press L. And then what I'm going to do is click the plus button all the way to the upper right. Select new. Click here. I'll go to this material here. And then I'll select assign. Okay, I'll go back to object mode, and now we can see this color is the same color as that. So I'll go back to layout mode now. Left click to deselect. Okay, hopefully you learned some things from watching this tutorial. You can take these techniques and you could add more detail onto the jacket. You could change the color of more pieces of the jacket. You could also make the wrinkles thicker. Okay guys, that's it for the tutorial. For all of those of you who like the videos on this channel and reshare them. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And for those of you who are new to this channel, if you like the videos on this channel and you would like to see more, please subscribe and thank you for viewing.